Hey everyone, Phil and I here with you on Beyond the Booth. You won't see our full normal description out there. We had a little issue, tried to start, and I got a lightning strike. Phil, we got a special guest tonight. I won't fool everybody with my description. Jeff Flanagan, newly of the SEC. How are you today, sir?
Doing great. Thanks for having me. I hope you're safe now. Don't fool
Hey,
around with lightning.
hey, it scared me enough that I jumped about
Hmm.
3 foot off this couch, and I maybe had to change my underwear before we went
Hey,
live, but I won't say
hey
that.
Jeff,
Yeah.
this happens every time he steps inside the church.
Oh, I see.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, you better start living right.
Hey, Jeff, let me start it off with the question here. We've
All
been
right.
anxious to get you on here. Explain that you have been with the ACC for a couple of decades. Um,
Right.
you have taken a new job with the SEC in the review office, but kind of different area. What will your duties be for 2024?
Okay. So people are familiar with the replay as having a replay official at the stadium in the press box with a communicator. That will continue to be. For the last few years, the NCAA has been experimenting with a what they term as a collaborative replay from another location, and those locations have been the headquarters of the respective conferences. So, like when I was in the ACC, it was from Charlotte, and from in the SEC, it's in Birmingham. And what it's designed to do, it's to coexist with the replay officials at the game. The replay official at the game still runs the process. Okay. But what my role is to make sure that that process stays on the rails and goes down the right path. Um, uh, and the idea is to do it efficiently. Uh, you know, we don't want to say go fast, but we want to expedite the process, but do it correctly, efficiently. Try to get it done under 2 minutes, but ensure that we're not looking at that we're looking at what we need to look at, right? Um, Maybe there's a lot of stress on the replay official at the game. These guys, men and women, have a lot of skin in the game. It's a big decision whether to shut the play down, to review it, or not to review it. Because when it should be shut down, it should be shut down. But if it's a situation where it does not need to be shut down, we don't want to shut it down and delay the game. Okay. Um, I'll give you an example. There's just some of the education I've been getting over the last 6 months is, watched a ton of video, but there was an example of where the replay officials the official at the stadium was concentrating on a catch, no catch situation at the sideline. And it was close to the line of game. It could have been a first down or not. And they spent a little time trying to determine whether there was firm catch and control with a foot down. But somebody said, hey, guys, his foot's on the line, right? So he's out of bounds, so it doesn't matter. So it's kind of having kind of an objective view of having a voice of calm there that the replay official can collaborate with, and to have a feeling of a good confidence and strong feeling that he's going down the right path and following the procedures and the process of whatever we're trying to review.
Phil and I may have been at that game because we actually were at the famous Ole Miss Tennessee game where the replays became so stacked and it was on the field too.
Mm-hmm.
That it definitely affected game flow.
Yeah.
More than anything, and Phil, you can comment to this. The crowd became a problem
Right.
than a help in the football game.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And into the way I saw it now from the end zone is when the quarterback was stripped of the football, Tennessee ran it for a touchdown. They reviewed it, and it kept going and kept going and kept going. And, you know, and it was really hard to tell, you know, but it just kept prolonging. And then, you know, I felt like, well, if he would have broke away from that tackle, they wouldn't have blown the whistle dead. But, you know, he would have continued to been able to run the football, and they would have not have blown the whistle. I was kind of seeing it that way. But it kept being delayed. And after that, basically the officials lost control of the football game. That's what, to me, led to everything. And it turned the game into a long, drawn out, you know, and it kind of ruined the football game.
Game management is so important. It is. And, you know, the truth of the matter is college football is a wonderful product. You know, to me, it's the best sport on TV. Yeah, you know, it's the best TV product there is in sports, in my opinion. So, you know, we have an opportunity to affect the flow and the image of the product. That's not what we're charged to do. We're charged to get it right. And if we're doing it efficiently and doing it correctly, doing it in a timely manner, we do protect the product and the image and the game flow. So I totally agree. And that was part of my thing as an official on the field that I learned over the years. The better you manage the game, the interest stays in the game. Once you interrupt the flow of the game, attention gets in the places where it shouldn't be, right? It gets on the officials. It gets on other things other than the game. So, yeah. So the goal is in part of this collaborative, in my opinion, is to keep it smooth, keep it correct, keep it in where it's supposed to be. When whatever we're trying to review, stay within that process, stay within those rules. You know, look at the right camera angles, and so I think it's a good thing. I think they're trying to just improve the game by doing this, and there's a lot invested in it, and I like the role actually. I hope, and I think everybody I know that's in this and working in it, you talk about some dedicated people, and with the right attitude and love for the game and love for the product. So I think it's a good thing.
Well,
you know, Jeff, sorry, man, I want to just make this point with Jeff. I think the bottom line goal is you want the kids to decide the game. The coaches shouldn't be involved. The officials shouldn't be involved.
Yeah.
It should be those kids on the field that decides the football game.
You know, the other thing, though, is that replay, since its beginning, it's just part of the game now. So people won't replay. It's I remember in the beginning, people were like, you think this is going to last? I was like, of course it's going to last. People want this. It's an opportunity to get it right. And, you know, that's the bottom line, is getting it right. But they do want it done professionally and efficiently and in a seamless type manner. You know, review it, get it done, move on. So.
That was the point I was going to make, Phil, and I'll come to you let you take off with a line of question. Is there a goal in nothing's worse than you have momentum going in a game, either direction, you have a review, you go to break, and the break is 3.5 minutes, and you get back from the break and the review is still going on. Is there a goal to be able to complete that process in 3.5 minutes at max? And Phil, you take off that from there.
The goal is to get it done in 2 minutes. That's the goal. But if we have a break, a natural break, a TV break, or after a score, or after a punt, or just a natural break in the play, we're going to relax and take our time. And we may use every minute we can get, because the TV angles, sometimes they come in, some of the shots come in a little later than the actual we have the cameras in the stadium going, but sometimes TV can come through with replays a little bit later in the process. So sometimes you may want to use that time. But my experience is after, say, a punt or touchdown, a natural break, TV wants to go to a break and we're in a review. And usually if we go to review, TV will take a timeout. We'll get a decision done because we want to get the information to the coaches so they can coach. So when we come back from commercial, they're ready to go. They got their plays called. They got their defense called. They got their personnel who they need in the game. So as soon as we can get the information to them, the better. I would go ahead and make my announcement as soon as if we were still at commercial and had 2 minutes to go in commercial, if I got the decision within a minute, I would go ahead and make the announcement. So everybody's off my back. Fans know, TV knows, coaches know, players know. We're ready to go when we come back. So
and that's the TV's job to explain it after that.
Yeah, and we can help them if we explain it, in a way that everybody understands.
Well, Jeff, I want to ask you this. Of course, you took the job in the SEC, and of course, I guess you have come to Birmingham a few times during everything that's going on. I was down there last week, and there's a big thing when you walk outside the SEC office and that those letters that are above the office that says it just means more. Do you get that feeling that when you come to the SEC that the Southeastern Conference, sometimes I feel like the Southeastern Conference, when it comes to football, it does mean more?
There's no doubt in my mind that the SEC has had the commitment to the business of the game of football, especially football, but all sports, for as long as I can remember. I grew up, in the Southeast. I went to 2 SEC schools. And but I remember in the ACC, the first time I worked in an SEC stadium. And I think I worked at LSU. And I worked a game at Georgia, and I knew you could just tell the commitment to the business by the people. Like if I needed some information, I made one phone call and it was all taken care of. They had a plan. They had a business plan. They had a business model in place. This is years ago. This is back in the early 2000s. So very committed, run like a business. Yes, I think the SEC lives that. They believe it. They live up to it. They're the standard. They are the gold standard in college football. And I think they take it very seriously. They have very professional, highly educated people working in this business, in that office, and on this staff. And they back it up with investing in it, in equipment, technology, and people. And we'll, just look what they've done and their the success they've had. And
I think that goes in, and people from Oklahoma and Texas, especially fans, I don't know if they really understand that yet. I'm sure, at the college level, the coaches and all that stuff understand that, but fans are it's going to be an eye-opening for them, when you go to Vanderbilt. It doesn't matter where you go in the SEC, you're going to have passionate fans, and very few times are you going to have half-empty stadiums.
Agree. Every team in the league. I mean, everybody's got their traditions and their fan bases, and they're passionate. And we'd say it just means more. Well, you know what? It does it means so much to each fan base. Every fan base around the country now, the ACC fans are passionate everywhere. Everybody that loves their schools, passionate. Virginia Tech, Florida State, all these schools. But yeah, the SEC is just so competitive. And there's been so many teams in the SEC that won national championships, and there's such, natural rivalries, and it just requires a level of excellence to compete in that league. and the expectations are so high for every team. Fans have high expectations. So yeah, it's just a lot of passion, lots of emotion for football fans, and who doesn't love their school,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. That's what makes it fun. Well,
yeah.
Jeff, I want to ask you about this. I know we kind of sort of have touched on your job coming into the SEC. And of course, a lot of fans don't really understand the replay process.
Yeah.
Of course, the referee on the field is involved, and then you've got an official at the game that's involved in replay. And then
Right.
say this, you are in Birmingham. Are you just over one? Are you kind of just over one game, kind of like a supervisor?
I'm just part of the crew. What I will be assigned, there's 4 collaborative replay officials in the SEC, and we are assigned anywhere from 2 to 3 games a day. We will be dedicated to one game to its entirety throughout the day, morning, afternoon, evening. You are dedicated to that one game. And I am part of the crew. I am not there as a, some kind of supervisory capacity or anything like that. I'm just part of that replay crew and that field crew on the field, ensuring that we get this right and that we don't embarrass ourselves by just, screwing up something that we could prevent.
Yeah. So mainly what you're saying is you have the official on the field and the official that's the replay official at the game.
Yeah.
They're kind of the only two involved. That's the way it has been, basically.
Yeah. It started, you had a replay official and a communicator at the game. And then, like I said, in the last couple of years, the Power 5 conferences mainly have been experimenting with the collaborative part where they interact with, like Birmingham or Charlotte or wherever their home office is. But now, and the process still is the same. The replay official at the stadium runs it. He's the one that makes the decision whether to or determines whether there is a reviewable situation that needs to be reviewed. I'm in the background at that. I'm listening. I'm connected. I'm hearing everything, and I will agree. I'll look for camera angles. I will have the same technology he has at the stadium as far as camera angles. And then when we agree to shut the game down, then I'm going to be in a role of listening to what's going on. I'm a calm observer of the process, making sure he's going down the right path, staying on the rails, reviewing what we need to review, reviewing the primary element of the play and any other reviewable elements of the play that we need to. And then I'm going to be, if I see he's doing the right thing, my role is to agree, ask him to say catch, no catch. Let's go through the process. Let's start from the beginning. Do we have firm grip and control? Do we have a foot down? Is he going to the ground? Is there a time element? Is he making a football move? Just making sure that we're thinking right, doing it right, and being a calm voice. If we get to a situation where I think that maybe we're not going down the right path or we're looking at an angle that just doesn't show us anything, I'm going to say move on. Let's go to another angle. But I'm going to tell you, these guys are a lot more experienced than I am at this. I mean, this is my first year at this, and I'm learning. I'll be learning every week, every game, every play. And like I said, there's a lot of experience in this staff that's doing this, and they are good at it. And I went to Tennessee for the spring game this year, and was able to work with the technology and with the replay crew up there. We didn't officially do replay, but we had it going and we simulated it as if we were. And it took some learning for me to catch up with these guys. This is a whole different perspective than on the field. It's that's one of my challenges as a referee. I'm going to have to start watching this game as a replay official, not as a referee on the field. Now, it does help to have been a referee as far as rules study, film study. There's no doubt about that. But it's a whole different discipline here.
Randy, was you want to?
I just want to ask you a question. You brought up a point there that I've often wondered about. You were talking about multiple reviewable situations within a play.
Yeah.
Say you got a situation, you're judging a catch. Is he in bounds?
Right.
Did he receive the yard to get a first down? Do you start with one aspect of that play and say, okay, first thing we got to decide, was it a catch? If he was,
right.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
Is there a logical progression?
Well, first of all, you want to make sure he's in bounds or has made the catch, whether it determines whether he's in bounds or not. I mean, sometimes I'll give you, let's say, multiple situations. I'll tell you one I was involved with last year in a game. It was a little unusual and involved targeting. We had a pass for a 40-yard gain, and the receiver caught the ball and was immediately hit. And the back judge threw a flag for targeting, and he ruled a catch and a fumble. And the defense picked the ball up and returned it, 20 yards. Well, we had to first determine, did he catch the ball? We had to determine if there was targeting. Now, if there was a catch, if he was a defenseless player, whether he was a defenseless player or not for the targeting, was it with the crown of the helmet or not? Because it all made a difference in if the pass was complete or not. It was penalty administration difference. If we rule that it was a catch, then we're going to penalize from the spot of the fumble. If it's an incomplete pass, we're going to go back 40 yards and penalize from the previous spot. Okay. But then we had to determine if this player was defenseless or not. And the question came up, well, he caught the ball. How can he be defenseless? He caught the ball and he's a runner. Well, just because he caught the ball doesn't mean that he's not defenseless, because he's in the process of making the catch. He's defenseless, right? But that makes a difference, because if he's hitting the head or neck area and he's a runner, but it's not with the crown, that's not targeting. If he's defenseless, a defenseless receiver, and gets hit in the head or neck area, whether it's with the crown or not, that is targeting. So what they determined was that it was with the crown of the helmet and that it was a catch and a fumble. And a lot of people would say that would have been an incomplete pass in real time, but a lot of discussion over that play. So there were about 3 or 4 reviewable elements in that play, one play right there. And it was a big deal because the fumble occurred at the 20-yard line. So that's first and goal, as opposed to first and 10 back at the -40, So other areas that really getting involved is the pylon and goal line. And we get all into whether he broke the plane, if the ball's inside the pylon, it's over the pylon, whether he has possession of the ball. And then a kid comes in and hits him in the head with the crown of the helmet. And we're so focused on whether he scored or not, we didn't see the hit with the crown of the helmet, right?
Right.
So that's kind of my role right there is, naturally we're looking to see if the guy scored, but then, hey, this guy came in with the crown, and hit him. And those plays happen. We've watched a ton of them this spring. So and you're looking at that and trying to do it in 2 minutes. It can be kind of stressful, and that's why this collaborative system is set up, so we can kind of have a crew, looking at a crew concept, looking at this, but of a structured crew concept.
Well, I think that's a great thing, Jeff, because a lot of times you'll see in football games where you've got a kind of a questionable penalty call, and all officials will come together and, and make sure they get it right. And I don't mind them doing that as long as they make the right call. And this is the same type of process.
Right. Yeah, I can tell you, we have to make sure what they call on the field. We need to get their ruling on the field, and then we can't review that. Now, we can create certain penalties. Some things are reviewable, but say like they call holding on the field and they penalize it. We ensure that they penalize it correctly, but we can't review it, right? We can't review that, but it is our responsibility to make sure that they penalize it correctly. Even if it's just a 5-yard penalty, false start, and they only walk off 4 yards instead of 5. Yeah, that's our responsibility to make sure this gets done right. And I mean, little things like that happen.
Oh, yeah. It happens. It happens a great deal. But in this new process, Jeff, I know you're going to have an extra set of eyes, which I'm sure is welcoming for, the replay official and the head official, because, it ensures you do get things right. It's just going to be a little bit of an adjustment for them also.
It was a big adjustment for me. Yeah, exactly. Actually, my role was kind of like with the referee. When you see the referee go over to the monitor, and he's observing, watching the monitor. He's in contact, but he's listening to the replay official communicate with the collaborator or with his communicator, or just talking out loud, thinking out loud, and he's listening. And that's what my role was as a referee the last several years, is just to kind of listen and make sure that we're all looking at the same thing, going through the right process, that he's on the right track, and let him make his decision. And then we go agree or say, did you consider this? Or they may want to ask me for a rule interpretation, or just make sure they're, thinking right. So kind of the same role as the collaborative official I'll have as I was on the field.
Yeah, and of course, and I know this is going to happen too in games where you have late in a ball game where you review every play basically just to make sure. You're going to have a point where the replay official might not see nothing in a certain instance, and you're going to be able to have another set of eyes to point it out to him and say, hey, you might want to look at this.
That's correct.
Because he may miss something late in the ball game that just kind of runs past him, and that way you can point it out to him and to let him know that you need to shut the play down.
That's correct. And it's a team thing, because if I was in his position, if I was the replay official in the booth, I would certainly welcome it if somebody woke me up and said, hey, did you see that blindside block during that punt return? Did you think that was a smoke there on that block? I mean, you got anywhere from 9 to 32 or more camera angles, depending on the game you got. If you got one of these prime time, big time games, you're going to have all kind of camera angles. Basically, I think most of the games have a minimum of like 9 cameras, some 12, some 16. So you got to look at all these cameras. You got to pick your view quickly. And that's actually a trained skill that these guys develop. And I'm working on myself. Which camera angles, just by watching the play, you instinctively know which camera angle is your best shot, right? Which one's going to give you the best shot at, and save you the most time. So you can kind of think ahead in order to save time.
Yeah. Well, Jeff, I want to ask you this. Of course, the official process, when it comes down to replay, I remember back when we first started replay, it seemed like sometimes speculation could come into it, but now it is basically video evidence. And I like the way it's done now because most of the time there is no doubt. So to make people really understand, there has to be undisputable evidence to overturn a play, or it goes back to the original official's call, right?
That is correct. The guiding principle is that the call on the field is correct. And we can't overturn it unless there's indisputable video evidence to overturn it. That's exactly right. Yeah. We can't go in there and guess. If they rule it's a catch and we can't, there's smoke there that it may have hit the ground, but we just don't have the indisputable video evidence 100% that says it hit the ground, it's incomplete, then the play's going to stand.
Yeah, that's a lot of people really don't understand the basics of this. Just like when you was on before and you were talking about officiating and whatnot. There's a big process involved, and people don't understand how much work goes on behind the scenes. And you've already mentioned that about you've already watched tons of video situations. You're going to be hopefully. Of course, I know this is going to be new for you, but you're going to hopefully be prepared for every situation.
Well, I tell you, it's not going to be because they didn't try to get me ready for this, because the leadership that I've had, my boss and the other officials, we've had Zoom calls since, like weekly, at least one or two Zoom calls weekly since February. Plus he'll send out like a survey play to, like a targeting play or a catch, no catch or something. And how do you rule on this? Wants to know what do you say? Why do you rule? And the goal is to get 100% unanimous agreement, right? And we're close. There's only been a few where we're kind of divided, but most of the time it's very high percentage of people agree on the call. Now, when replay first started back in like 2007 or so, you go to these replay meetings and they put a play up there and they'd ask the room, how many people think this is a catch? Half the room would say yes, half the room would say no. And it was so frustrating. It'd be like, what are you guys looking at? Why can't you see that as a catch? And they're like, why can't you see that as incomplete? So it's been a working process ever since the replay started to get consistency in interpretation, get consistency in the equipment, how to use it, and having standards on how to, and processes. Just breaking down the targeting, for example, it's a process. Breaking down catch, no catch, it's a process. And it's designed to help you make a good decision. One other thing about replay is that, we try to get it done in 2 minutes, right? But the big pressure comes when they have to make the decision to shut it down. And say it's a 4th down play and there's a pass and it's questionable whether it's a catch or not, whether he's in bounds or out of bounds or caught it or hit the ground. Well, what do you think the offense is going to do? If it's ruled complete for a 1st down, what do you think the offense is going to do? They're going to run to the line. They're going to run up and they want to snap it, because once the ball's snapped, we can't review it. Right. So on the average, you have sometimes 10 to 14 seconds to make your decision whether to shut it down or not. Okay. And then the pressure's on the other coach over there, whether to challenge it or not. And then they're yelling at the officials, like, aren't y'all going to review this? And you have to, it's a lot of pressure there. So, we kind of have a standard where if it's a big play, obviously a big play at a big point in the game, we're going to shut it down. Just going to shut it down, And I think everybody reasonably expects to do that in a situation like that. But the pressure's on. I mean, it could be in the third quarter with 13 minutes to go, and it could be a, third and short, and the team's, we roll first down, and they're hustling to the line. He may not have made it, So it's a lot of pressure, not a lot of time to make your decision.
Well, Jeff, what about this? What about this situation? Say you and the replay official are kind of on the same page, but you are not really a little bit sure. Do you have the capacity to bring somebody else in to give you another face?
I haven't been in that situation, but I do have a boss there. But I think we should be on the same page. We should agree. We got a process that we should agree. I mean, gosh, if it got to that situation, I am sure my boss would get in on it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if I can't make a good decision, I'm gonna ask for help. I'm not gonna guess, But I hope we don't get to that point. But I'm sure there are moments in every league, every year, that there is a critical a play in a ball game that may need a few more eyes on it, to make the right decision. So I won't say that will happen or not, but if it does, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get it right.
Yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. Never speculate, of course. All those things you were talking about, you never want to speculate.
Well, you're not going to get your pride involved either.
Yes,
because you don't want to be wrong. So, but you gotta do the best you can to make the right decision.
Well, I want to ask you one more question. I'll let Randy take over. Before games start, I mean, you're set up, say Ole Miss is playing Georgia and you are the replay official. Do you communicate with the officials or the head official before the game ever starts? Do y'all kind of have a little meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
We'll have a pregame. We'll make the replay official and the communicator at the stadium. They make sure all the equipment is working. They actually attend the 100-minute meeting with the coaches and administrative meeting they have before the game. But they make sure everything's working, the cameras, that we have communication between the office and the stadium. And we'll talk and make sure everybody's comfortable, and they'll be well prepared. I guarantee you. We, as collaborative officials in Birmingham, will have a pregame also. We'll go in on Friday night, and Friday afternoon we meet. We'll have dinner. We'll meet. We'll have a pregame of our own, and then on Saturday morning we'll have a little meeting too. So we go in with the right mindset and with football on our mind. So
yeah. Well, I know it's a pressure job and it can be stressful, but all in all, it's a whole lot of fun, I'm sure.
It's very gratifying when things go right, when you feel like you have done the right thing, the game was decided. That's the best feeling in the world. When you mess up something, it's the worst. And nobody kicks themselves harder than football officials when they think they have made a mistake and it's on film and embarrassing and, in front of your peers and fans and the world. That's not where you want to be. But preparation usually will take care of that. It'll create a lot of luck for you if you prepare properly and are paying attention. One thing I've always told officials at every level that they move up from high school to small college to 1AA or FCS to Power 5 is the level of concentration that's required for each level that you go to. And in this replay, business, it's no less. You're constantly, you have to watch every play, and you have so much responsibility. And then you have the responsibility to get it right if a mistake was made. And we had the opportunity with the camera angle, so there is no room for error at that point. You know, they're like, you got the cameras, why can't you get this right? We should get it right. So yeah, a lot of pressure there.
Well, Jeff, I want to ask you 2 questions, and I'll turn you over to Randy. This is going to throw you off on this, and I'm going to throw you a curve. Number one, I want to know, who was your favorite ACC coach while you was refereeing there, and what is your favorite sports movie?
Oh, well, my coaches, I'd have to say Frank Beamer and Bobby Bowden. Those guys were good. I mean, there's some guys like Al Grove was a good guy too. I had a lot of respect for him. But I guess for, the fans, just watching knowing those men, they were gentlemen. They were who they were. I think I spoke to y'all a little bit about Coach Bowden before, but he was just who he was. Frank Beamer is who he was. They were just football coaches. They understood people. They understood kids. They understood the game. They wanted it done right, but they understood you were human beings, and they appreciated your efforts for being there, just trying to get things right, donating your time and effort, and trying to do the best you could. Didn't think that you were bad people if you made a mistake. They knew you were human beings, and just always good-natured, good, consistent personalities. Could talk to them. If I went to them and gave them information, they took it and were appreciative of it. But most of the coaches are like that. There are a few out there that probably didn't last or didn't have as much success in it. But you can see why these men were successful on a high level.
Yeah, they put people first.
Yeah, they appreciate everybody. They appreciate everybody's role, and they hire good people, and they know they got good people, and they trust them. You just have to. They hire good coaches. They recruit good players. So those 2 names come to mind because that's when I started in the league, and they were there, and they were having lots of success then. And I was just really, at first, of course, I was intimidated, but they made me feel so comfortable. And there's no arrogance. They were just confident in their abilities, and they knew their craft, and they were inspiring. I love listening to these coaches talk, and the successful ones, and motivate. And but I don't. There's some coaches I like more than others, but we were fortunate to have a lot of really good coaches in the ACC. But those 2 were legendary, and the reason why is that they were good people first and foremost, and they treated people with a lot of respect.
Jeff, we got a guy that sits with me and Phil in Knoxville that for 25 years haven't missed a call from 115 yards. He just out of bounds, offsides, or have you ever had a funny interaction with a fan from the stadium to your area? Because this guy, he'll call plays, he'll rep the game, and he's been sitting in front of Phil and I for years. So we always get a chuckle out of him.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I get it. I would get it all the time. You walk around, but fans. I guess I got to a comfort level. I'd been in the league so long, and people yell at you by name and stuff, and they would be surprised sometimes. But I would just stop and say, "What?" and I'm like, the game ain't even started. Where they would, they like show me a wad of money, or something. I'm like, dude, I ain't going there, but they were but then it kind of, if you stopped and gave them your attention just for a few seconds, or even talk to them, that kind of broke down the hostility. It seemed like, they appreciated it. It's like you made a friend. Because they never expect, I guess, the referee to talk to them or even listen to them. But, oh, yeah, I could walk up and down in front of student sections before the game, and they'd be like yelling things at me, and I'd just turn and smile at them or something and just talk to them, talk to the stadium personnel. Hey, you go endear yourself to people and just try to be who you are. I guess I was always nervous before a game. Yeah, but I wasn't scared. I mean, I love being in that environment, and I love being around the students, the fans, the players, the coaches, the security people. So I was very comfortable in that environment. But if you just give these people your attention for a minute, talk to them, and yeah. I mean, it kind of, but I do, you would hear it that, you suck, all that kind of stuff, but they get mad if you make a call they don't agree with. But I mean, that's just sports, man. Yeah.
Jeff, you're physical. I know you're coming off the field, but, and Frankie Culpepper's on here, and he's making some kind of bribery charge about the Bulldogs. So you need
Bulldogs. Yeah.
You need to every bad call you can against them. But
yeah,
Frankie, of course, is famous for being in shape and a workout person.
Yeah,
you really were dedicated to getting in shape before the season started.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. You got to get acclimated to that heat, and I mean, it's all a matter of respect too. I mean, if you look at somebody on the football field, I mean, you respect them if they're physically in shape, I think. I never got accused of being lazy or out of shape. Never wanted that. But as far as Georgia, I don't think Georgia needs any help.
No,
I think Georgia's in good shape.
They don't.
But no, yeah, I think people we held each other to standard. We had physical standards on our officiating staff. So you got to be in shape. You have to complete physical drills. You have to turn in a physical. They do not tolerate overweight in college anyway.
Yeah.
And you won't see in Power 5, I guarantee you won't see many guys that aren't in shape. It's that's something you can control, as they say. But as far as like heat, getting out in it, and you just got to acclimate yourself. You got to get in. You're gonna work in those conditions, so you've got to get out and get used to it. That's the only way to do it, and learn how to hydrate. When we go to clinics, we used to go to clinics like we rotated around going to the universities. 1 year we'd be at Georgia Tech, 1 year we'd be at Duke, 1 year we'd be at North Carolina or something. And one of the sessions I always enjoyed were when the trainers came in, and the team trainers, and they talked to us about nutrition. And we had a physical therapist come in one time and talk to us about age-related injuries. Each decade, you get up to 35, 40 years old, about every 5 years, your body is susceptible to certain types of injuries. And you really start paying attention to that in your 50s, because that's when your Achilles really, and knees are, start wearing down and they're more susceptible to an injury at that age. And I have seen two guys. One guy ended his career one night with an Achilles. But I've seen guys injure themselves pretty badly. But listen to them talk about stretching, nutrition, hydration. When we were kids, we didn't get any of that. They had no concept of hydration or, water at football practice. Are you kidding? Now it's like, it's like a spa, with all the water and all that. But it just makes sense. You keep people hydrated and fresh, So
They used to give us salt pills, Jeff.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's just, I'm going to shoot one more question at you and then go get a couple more from Phil here.
Yeah.
We're all SEC guys here, and we love the SEC.
Yes, sir.
But one of the charms of the ACC was the smaller stadiums that felt like pre all this expansion and conference. It just felt like Wake Forest, Georgia Tech, Duke, all these 40, 50,000 seats were just most cozy, friendly places in the world. What is there a place, a stadium that you're going to miss that's not obvious? Like everybody's going to miss Doak Campbell.
Yeah.
Or another place that you went that was smaller that
Yeah.
really like being at?
Well, of course, I've said all before many times what I love about college football, the traditions of all the schools that they have. And, I have been in places like Wake Forest when they've had some good teams in the small stadium, but just packed and rocking. And, I think I was there on a Thursday night many years ago, and they beat Clemson on a Thursday night ESPN game. And it was just a wild atmosphere, But yeah, I'll miss Virginia Tech, that Enter Sandman tradition, and I'll miss the Spirit, Florida State, and that's the whole ceremony. And but all the schools, just Virginia, they have the Cavalier rides out on the horse, and it just gets their fans going, and they love that tradition. And of course, I miss the campuses, and it's not like, I guess I was in it long enough to where, like I was able to go out, make a decision to leave on my own, that I'm going to miss it, but it's not like sad. I feel very fortunate to have experienced all of that and all the memories of it. And I know it's there. So I know it's not going away anytime soon. So, but I'm trying to think of the schools that have certain traditions, but I just always enjoyed going to all the schools, and from Miami to Boston College, all the way up the East Coast and in between. And you have a special place for all the schools, and even the ones that struggled, because you saw them, you worked with them, you were there when they were struggling, and you felt part of the struggle, and you always wished for success for them. So I always appreciated having a game every week. I didn't care where it was,
Well, Jeff, if I would have been smarter, I would have went to Georgia Tech instead of Tennessee, because I love the Ramble and Wreck. I remember as a kid, and I just absolutely loved it. But Phil will tell you, I'm not that smart, so I did as good as I could getting into Tennessee. Go ahead.
Well, I love going Georgia Tech. Yeah.
Yeah. Important thing is getting through. That's the main thing. Well, Jeff, we had talked about this before we came on air, that you took the job, at the SEC to kind of sort of take yourself off of the field role. And now you're as a replay official in the future. And I'm sure that you had to take this type of job to kind of sort of get your foot in the door in the SEC. And we kind of talked about this. Do you see in the future, and you had talked about possibly being a teacher, to mentor officials, maybe go into more of an administrative role? Will the future come to where you might be a replay official at one of the ball games? What do you see as being your future possibly?
I tell you, I am, I'm just getting started, but I'm already loving this role. I think I'm better suited for this. I don't know if I could do it at the be a replay official at the stadium. Those guys are so sharp and so cool under pressure and work so fast. And, I'm just sitting there going, my God, but I'm kind of like in my role as a referee. So it's kind of a comfort zone for me because I'm actually watching video and observing and listening as I was when I was on the field, when I went to the monitor, and making sure it's done correctly. So I think I'm in a comfort zone right now. I feel good about this role. As far as going further, let me tell you, the SEC's got good people and good in places, and what they're doing right now is good. So and I'm probably age-wise beyond that. Now I wouldn't be interested in administration. I want to stay connected to the game on the field and, in the booth on the field. But I do enjoy mentoring referees and training referees and young officials. And will continue to go to clinics and do that. That was kind of my thing over the years, was collect video and teach people and make people aware of things. And I was pretty good at taking certain segments of the game and bringing attention to it. Like, I've really focused the last 8-10 years on the last 2 minutes of the game, how to manage that last 2 minutes, because so many good officials will be in big ball games or any ball game, but especially some of the big primetime games, and they'd work 59 minutes of just great football, and they get in that last minute and just it'd blow up, because they really weren't prepared for everything that could happen. And, when the 10-second runoff and all that stuff started coming in, the rules got complicated. It was just a segment of the game that required a lot of attention. And so.
Yeah, because I think you're like everybody else. The last 2 minutes of the game, in a sense, you kind of want the officials to disappear at the end of the game and not be the difference.
Exactly. But everything's got to be done right. You can't make a mistake because you're fatigued or you're not ready for that moment, or you forgot that the rules changed, the clock rules changed, or you've got to be able to have the awareness to switch into that mode at that time. And so that's kind of what I used to do with the segments of the game. You break it down to the goal line, you break it down to an onside kick, you break it down to a punt. You break it down to pass fumble. Quarterback gets hit as he's throwing the ball, and show 10, 15 plays, something like that, over and over. And people start kind of getting it after the 4th, 5th, 6th time they see it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, of course, and people start to understand the game too. That's like the 10-second runoff. I think it was the Tennessee-Kentucky game last year. I was watching it on TV, and it come down to the end, and something happened. And the 10-second runoff come into play right at the end, and Tennessee didn't have to punt. So as soon as I saw that, I was like, hey, 10-second runoff, 10 seconds, this is over.
Yeah.
And so when you learn the rules, you understand, and people don't get upset.
So there's a rule change with that this year. So for the last several years, ever since 10-second runoff came into play, it was associated with the last minute of the game, with the clock running and the team committed a foul that stopped the clock, like a false start. But now they've made a timing rule change. The 10-second runoff applies under 2 minutes now. When we get under 2 minutes. And another thing, and I'm glad they did this, because that was always my complaint. If I complained about anything, if I ever got myself in a situation in a game, there's always something to do with the clock. And it was confusing. So now what they've decided to do is at 2 minutes, we're going to take a timeout. It's going to be called the 2-minute timeout, similar to what the NFL does when they take that timeout at 2 minutes. And that tells everybody, okay, we're under 2 minutes. We're taking a timeout. Media is supposed to save a timeout for that break right there. And we'll go to commercial. We'll come back. Everybody regroups. Everybody knows we're in the last 2 minutes of the game. Clock rules apply. Remember last year they started on a first down outside of 2 minutes, the clock didn't stop for a first down in bounds. Or if you went out of bounds, we set the ball, we started the clock again. Well, under 2 minutes, last year, we did that except under 2 minutes. That still applies. So that if you make a first down, the clock stops. Then it starts back on the ready for play when the referee blows the whistle. So it's just I think it's a good thing. We hit 2 minutes, we take a timeout. Everybody knows now we're in that last 2 minutes of the game. All the rules apply. Different. What's different comes into play now. So it just kind of emphasizes that segment of the game.
Yeah, of course, that changes strategies for the coaches too, because really you've got 4 timeouts in the second half. So you have to use that and use that wisely. So if you waste a timeout early, it doesn't hurt you quite as bad.
Exactly. That's going to be – and this game is all about that kind of strategy. I think Bill Parcells said one time it's all about the score and how much time's remaining. And then it intensifies more with the number of timeouts you have, whether you have a timeout remaining or not. And the less you have, the more pressure there is to save it. If you don't have a timeout and the pressure's on. That's another thing that officials have to think about is how to that pressure goes up. What's the team trying to do? They're trying to get out of bounds. If they don't have a timeout, they're trying to get out of bounds. They're trying to make a first down. They're trying to get that clock stopped. And so you got to think like they do. So the strategy does change. And the coaches will be all over it. They will be all over it, I guarantee you.
Well, I want to ask you one more thing, and we'll let you go. I want to ask your opinion because people ask this, and I hear it all the time. I just tell them college football is going to be just fine. It'll adjust just like it always has. This NIL thing has changed things, your transfer portal, all that's changed a lot of things about college football. But one thing about college football is, and it's the people you talk about too, is the professionals above us. They know how to deal with every situation. And to me, college football is going to be just fine. Yes, it's going to get a little pricey. I think that's the one thing that makes it tough. But I believe the game will adjust eventually to that. But I don't think this college football is going to go either way. Yeah, we're going to have super conferences, and that's going to change things around. But that's just part of it.
That's just something as officials we can't control. Don't want to control. The thing we want to do and the thing I love about officiating is we have an opportunity to protect the integrity of the game. Our goal is to, make it fair as we can, to try to let the teams decide the outcome, not be involved in it, but we have nothing to gain, from influencing anything. There's nothing. People don't do that. If you're in officiating and you have a mindset like that, you will not last. And I don't know. I've never worked with anybody like that. All we care about is protecting the integrity of the game, and we take that very seriously. And these leagues are highly invested in it now. They're invested in officiating, not just in what they pay officials, but the equipment. Just like this collaborative system, they're paying guys like me to help ensure the fair and correct outcome to a game, by just enforcing the rules correctly. And that's an investment in the game to me. That's an investment in officiating. All the other things, man, the coaches, the stuff they have to deal with, my gosh, I'm really glad I'm not in that part. They have so much responsibility, and things change all the time in this business. And it used to be, well, the rules change, type of athletes change, offensive styles change. Now it's all the legal ramifications and the business of college football. That's the thing that's changed so much the last several years. It's such a huge business, but I knew it always had the potential to just really be bigger than it ever was because there's such a passion for it. And a market for it. But those are things that we don't have any control over. Again, don't want to control, don't even want to be all we want is to have an assignment, show up and officiate, man. And, but we want this game to go on, and we don't want it. We don't want to see it hurt in any way. We don't want any negative things to happen to this game. I don't know how that would happen, some kind of legislation or something. I don't know. But those are things we can't control. But
I think it's one of those where if we keep government out of it, we'll be just fine.
What do you do? Sometimes it's needed, sometimes it's not. I don't know. It's just I'm glad those guys that get paid to take care of that. I mean, man, they have a lot on their plate to deal with. And I respect them because they're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to get it straightened out, I'm sure. And I think there's a bright future for it. I think they'll figure it out.
Yeah. Speaking for me and Phil both, we so enjoy having you on here, and hopefully we'll have you here. It's a real interesting game, but I want to thank you for what you do to the game.
Well, thank you.
I've been able to watch my 14-year-old daughter become and love college football over the years, and it's because of the sacrifices of the great coaches, the great players, but it's also because of the great officials. Because she, as a new fan, takes more interest in what the officials are doing than anything on the field, and having her understand that was really a breakthrough to her becoming a football fan. So what y'all do. And
well, thank you. That means so much. You want to have officials that you think are doing their job and care about their job, and I know people notice that, and her at a young age like that, noticing that. And if you ever competed in a game, you always wanted fair officials and people you thought cared and were doing the right thing. And I was at Florida State one year, and my umpire and I were walking around the stadium. It was one of those primetime games, and Lou Holtz was there with that ESPN group, and we were walking the stadium, and he came to us, and he said, "I just want to tell you guys, I thank you so much for what y'all do." And he said, "I want to tell you who the true heroes, in my opinion, are in football." He said, "Those guys that go out in the rural America on Friday night and work a football game at a high school that has 200 kids in it, in a rural." And like, where do they? He said he's out recruiting, and he's like, "Where do these guys come from? What do they do? Well, they have real jobs. They have kids. They have families. They're leaving people at home, but they must love this game because he knows they're not getting paid a lot to do it." And I really appreciated that. He meant it.
It's not the easiest job in the world either. And understand, the referee's job is to get it right. But there's some situations you can't get it right. It's not clear. So,
well, I just hope people realize that there are some really dedicated, professional, hard-working people trying to do this right. And we don't get it right all the time. It's obvious that we don't. But it's not because we don't care that we have some vendetta going against some team or some player or some coach or anything. That's ridiculous. We do this because we love it. And again, just trying to protect the integrity of the game. And that is goal number one. And, we always say if you're in this business to get respect, you're in the wrong business. But if you do get some, that is a reward in itself right there. And to get it from some highly respected people sometimes is really gratifying.
Yeah, you because it's about these kids that are playing, and it's like a lot of times I don't get to go to many high school games, but I just tell people, watch the game, don't watch the officials. I know you paid $8 to get in here, but watch the game, because that's what's important. And, and that's like Randy and I interview a lot of players, a lot of coaches, and, and we take a little in depth into getting to know these coaches behind the scenes, because all in all, at the end, if you get to know a little bit about a coach, you're less apt to criticize. And I think that's the same way with officials. Is some people hear your story and understand what your job is and how important it is. I think a lot of them don't understand that, but they're going to be a lot less critical of an official in a ball game.
Well, I tell you, going to these, when I started in small college, and you cross paths with some of these guys, and they're working on their careers too. They're trying to advance their career. And they start in small college, and then you cross paths with them. You may go out of conference or something, and you run into a coach who's now on a Power 5 staff that, you were in 1AA with. And man, you're so glad to see each other. You're so happy for each other. You just want success for everybody that's in this business, because it's a hard gig. These high school coaches and those small college coaches, they don't make a lot of money, and they work hard at it. And they put more time in. The officials now, it's like a hobby for us. I have it's just something we do on high school level. You do it on Friday night, but the coaches, man, that's their full-time gig, and so you have to have respect for that, what they're doing. And if they can make it on a big time level, happy for them. They went to the right doors to get there, and you're proud of them.
Well, Jeff, it's the guy in the booth, which me and Phil have been for over 30 years. It's the referee, and it's the guy, the coach. There's one thing in common: we all love the game, and we
got it
to enhance the game, protect the game, and I hope I leave a legacy that of a love of this game, and certainly that's what we all want to do.
It shows. You talk when just talking to you guys, the passion comes through. It's easy, we share that, and just continue to let that passion come through. It opens doors.
Well,
makes people happy.
I got a 14-year-old that says Tennessee's a lot more fun since they win every now and then. So I he'll be around for a few years. So
man,
we appreciate it, Jeff. And look,
thank you.
Summer after this, we get you again.
Yeah.
Phil, I've enjoyed tonight's show. Anything you got to wrap up?
No. I just enjoy talking with you, Jeff, because learning about officiating, it makes me appreciate the game a whole lot more. Because when I go to games, I'm for sure going to be less critical of those guys, because I understand their role, and it's great to talk to somebody who's been there, because it's tough on them too. They don't want to make a bad call because they have to listen to it the rest of the ball game, and it bothers them. I'm sure some of them goes home at night and don't sleep very well.
No, it's it's tough. If you, and some guys are harder on themselves than they need to be, but we're always trying to get better. But I tell you, here I am, 66, and I'm taking on a whole new journey here and having to learn. And I do love it because it keeping my brain charged, and I'm motivated, and feel very fortunate to be in this game still and be with the SEC and working with the people I respect, and trying to affect it in a positive way, just trying to, do what I can do to contribute to the game. It's given me a lot of opportunities, and, I just want to pay back something if I can.
Well, Jeff,
that goes to show you good things happen to good people.
If you work hard and do the right things, and prepare, like I said, you can create a lot of luck for yourself.
Jeff, if we get a bad replay, we're calling Knoxville. I won't let Jeff must be working this game.
Well, yeah, could be. I'm in for a learning experience this year. I'm telling you, I am. It's a different deal, and I got a lot to learn. I have learned a lot, but I'll tell you, we've got incredible leadership, and my boss is an incredible leader, and he has all the good leadership qualities that you look for. So that translates to a lot of respect, and he cares. Boy, if anybody cares, he does. So it's going to be good in that respect.
Can't wait to see the results on the field. Phil Harris, Randall Cunningham with very special guest, Jeff Flanagan from the SEC office. New replay rules. We thank you for joining us. Good night. God bless.
Thank you.
We hope we enjoyed the program. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, guys. Love it. Y'all take care.